Hey folks, this is JK from the Ministry of Otaku, 14-year anime convention veteran and cosplay photographer. And today I want to talk about this this article from Bounding into Comics regarding Star Trek The Next Generation alone, Marina Sirtis, saying that she will not be doing any conventions unless everyone is double vaxxed. Which is basically practically impossible because of the fact that everyone who can or want to get vaccinated have already gotten vaccinated, and people who don't need or want the vaccine are not going to get it, no matter how much nagging, fear propaganda, begging, and demanding people or companies are. Now, the article says that probable Star Trek Next Generation under Marina Sirtis says her upcoming convention schedule will not include many U.S. appearances due to the country's refusal to enforce widespread vaccine mandates. And because of the fact that half the United States, a good portion of the United States, have refused to implement vaccine mandates. And some of them, such as Texas and Florida, have actually outlawed vaccine passports or demands to show people their vaccine passports. A fan favorite and big convention draw, Sirtis is best known for her role as Commander Dana Troy, the resident counsel of both Enterprise D and Enterprise E. Now, I rarely seen any episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation. It's not my thing. Even though it's a sci-fi show, it's not my thing. But plenty of people love Star Trek. And to be honest with you, I did enjoy the Star Trek remake, the first remake, and the second movie of by Bad Reboot. I don't know why. Bad Robot, Bad Reboot. Anyway, in reply of inquiry from the fan of whether or not she would be coming to a con in the United States, so this as I won't be doing any conventions unless everyone is double vaxxed, guest in public, which rules out a lot of conventions in the United States. Basically, unless a convention in the United States imposes a vaccine mandate for everyone, she will not be attending any conventions. She won't be attending any conventions. And it's primarily as a virtue signal, because of the fact that most of these conventions are not imposing vaccine mandates unless forced to by law. And the interesting is that there's no pushback. There's no pushback in the coastal states because of their fear propaganda and the politicians that going along with the fear propaganda. Now, lots of venues in the United States are doing events, including concerts, conventions, and professional sports, while some including proof of vaccination to enter, either self-imposed or by law in California and in New York. Others simply impose physical distancing and face coverings. And most part, it's self-imposed, even in states where vaccine mandates are not outlawed or they abolish their mandates. They do it self-imposingly as a form of virtue signaling. However, a possible mandate from the federal government, specifically from President Joe Biden, whose current plans impose of their business of over 100 employees must have all their staff vaccinated or face fines up to $700,000 for every employee not in compliance, which could force many business owners to fire unvaccinated employees simply out of fear of economic ruin. And there's a good reason why he's imposing up to $700,000 for every employee, so he can actually help fund his $3.5 trillion infrastructure plan, which a good portion of it is not infrastructure. But that's another video. If such a mandate was eventually enforced, it would very catch up to the convention industry, given that it employs hundreds of thousands of people running the United States, and it's been devastated by the government response to Corona-chan, it will most likely suffer huge personnel losses from workers quitting in protest of the near-forced vaccination. Such a mass exodus will be devastating for business owners across the nation and will lead to economic collapse. It's bad enough that the convention scene has effectively socially collapsed with the fear propaganda and the virtue signaling, and it's going to face an economic collapse, specifically in the coastal states. Conventions in Florida, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Georgia, in the South and Midwest, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. And people are just going to have to travel to states where they're going back to normal, where they're hell bent on going back to normal. Even the anime Matsuri is going to be growing a lot bigger in 2022 because of the insanity of the coastal states. Now to continue, meanwhile, as all of this gets hashed out, many fans and entertainment viewers are embracing traveling and going to movies, shows, and social medias, making the financial risk of said personnel loss grow higher and higher every day. Mostly in the South and Midwest, and for those in the coastal states, they're going to have to travel to states where they are open and free. I had to travel to Florida, South Dakota, and Texas just to escape from the current this hysteria in the state of Maryland, and it did wonders for my mental health. At least I get to spend money in places that they deserve my money and that they're willing to go back to normal. Finally, finish off, need to say that economy must be interesting. Not really, as many states will be barring the federal government over the constitutionality of this policy. And already we're going to have another vaccine mandate that is going in Congress right now that will impose a vaccine mandate on customers flying through planes. Having a vaccine mandate over planes that actually violates the right to travel. We already have people wearing masks, and the fact that this propaganda tells us if you get vaccinated, you don't need to wear a mask. Now we're still wearing masks because of the fact that they keep can kicking, despite the fact that everyone is sick of wearing masks. But we're too polite to say no, fearing that the federal government will go full Assad on us. And the worst thing is that we have the Great Resignation. People that are resigning from low-wage jobs, and people who are imposing these vaccine and mask mandates, and either basically quitting their work altogether and doing early retirement, finding work that does not oppose these vaccine mandates, or basically lying flat, like the youth in mainland China are doing. No matter what side of the vaccine issue one stands on, it's clear that the majority of people want to live life again. Unfortunately, in the Hollywood celebrity bubble, and increasingly in the anime and fan convention scene, it's likely that many of your favorite adult pretenders, and by extension, convention runners, frown upon that. And they want to engage in virtue signaling instead of turning back to normal. Seriously, half the states are basically back to normal except for major cities. And people are going to basically go where they're willing to going back to normal. People want normalcy. People are tired of the hysteria. They want Hollywood, they want the arts and culture scene, and they want the anime convention scene to go back to normal. But unfortunately, people are just going to have to travel to places where they are willing to go back to normal and welcome people, and they won't treat them like bio bombs. And the worst thing is that we are facing an economic collapse that mainstream media has refused to address. It's getting to the point where some people do want an economic collapse, so they can blame people who are unvaccinated as some sort of a political revisionist plot, which has been playing out for the past 18 months. Past 18, 19 months. This can all be stopped at any time. But unfortunately, a good portion of Americans don't want this to stop. They want to keep pushing until there's a total collapse. And quite frankly, if Hollywood burns to the ground because of this, I'll be glad it happened. At least people have already found alternatives to Hollywood at this point. This is JK from the Ministry of Otaku signing out. Try to have a good day and take care of yourselves, will you?